What's yours say? Because there's several versions of that.
The mean house price was 481,000 pesos.
All right, cool. So what's the data? What would the data be? What would I have a list of to get to that point?
The number?
Number representing
The house price?
house price. I love it. So it's definitely a number, like you just said, right? So what two levels could it not be? What two levels are not numerical? It wouldn't be nominal
It wouldn't be.
or ordinal,
Yeah.
because those are not numerical. It's higher than that. It's got to be interval or ratio, because it is a true number, right?
So if it's ratio,
Does zero mean what it's supposed to mean? So house price, the number measures how much the house cost.
yeah.
Would zero mean what it's supposed to mean? Not could zero happen. Would zero mean what it's supposed to mean?
Yeah.
Yes. Meaning what? What would zero mean? The house cost, it cost nothing. So that would be it. Zero means what it's supposed to mean. So what level is it then? Zero means what it's supposed to mean. So which level is it? Which level is where zero means what it's supposed to? Interval or ratio? Yeah. Got a 50-50 shot. Anything from homework or something? Or yes? Is it still the test?
Yeah.
All right, you can see me on that individually, yeah. Homework. Okay. You guys doing all right? I do worry about you. This is a lot to do. Jackie, what's up?
Section 4.3. Number 96. 492.
So in this set of homework, in chapter 4, number 92, wait, 92? Okay. In 92 is a little bit different. This is good, because 92 is a question that if nobody asks me about it, I get worried if anybody's doing it. A student takes a 10-question true-false quiz. Right there, it tells me what situation I'm in. It tells me what N is. It tells me what P is. And then I know what Q is. What the shit? So what's being repeated how many times? So what would N be? I take a 10-question true-false quiz. What's N? 10. There's 10 questions. Each question involves what probability of getting it right if I just guess? Huh? Yes, 50%, because it's true false. If I just guess, right, or just Christmas tree that sucker, right, then I got a 50% shot. There's only two options. I like it. They've done studies that true happens more than false. So that's the way to guess. You ain't going to pass that way, but find the probability that the student passes the quiz with a grade of at least 70% of the questions right. So I know that N, like you said, is 10. I know that P is 0.5. Therefore, Q has to be 0.5. Let me stop there for a second. I got all that from like the first 7 words, right? And you're all like, good for you, Jeff. But I mean, you need to start picking out what's important in a problem. How do I know this is an NPQ problem? Because there's an N given, and there's 2 possible outcomes, true or false. Yeah. And then if I feel like it's NP, I start looking for NPQ. Can I find it? I like it. So what's this? How do I interpret this question? Find the probability that they pass with at least 70%. So the probability that X is greater than what? So,
Sorry,
Yeah.
say sorry, mate. Get it on British? That's funny. Would you like to turn on the torch? All right. So at least greater than or equal to 70% of 10 is 7. You see the...
So you don't write 0.7?
No, because what kind of distribution is this? What could happen as a result of taking the test? You can get how many questions right? Anywhere from 0 up to 10. 0.7 doesn't make any sense. You got 0.7 questions right. I got 70% of 10 right, or more, right? So that's 7, 8, 9, 10. So how am I going to do this? What's wrong for the person that does this? And that's it. And then they do that and they're done. Huh? Yeah, you're missing the rest. At least 7 is 7, or 8, blah, 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 or 9, or 10. Then you have to add all those up. Because how do you get at least 70%? You get 7, or 8, or 9, or 10, and what does or mean? Add. Do you see why I made such a big deal out of or and? What do they mean basically? Because that saves our ass in so many situations.
And that's what you add them all up.
Yep. Okay. And then, 96 is basically the same exact question as 88.
Okay.
And the more you understand what I just said, the more you understand math. A math person sees those as the same things. They have different values for shit. N, P, Q have different values, but they're both binomial problems. I'm going to use that formula somewhere in there. I'm going to use NP to figure out the mean. I mean, it's I don't know if you guys see what I'm saying. Those are both the same problem. Now, of course, if you don't understand, you're going to have trouble in both of them then. That makes sense, but... Anything else from homework stuff?
What does it mean when it says define the random variable x? Is it talking about just like how we do right here that x was set to?
Yeah, like in here, what would x represent?
The 70%?
Huh?
The 70%.
No. That's way too specific. What does x represent in general? So in this case, I'm asking what's the probability I get at least 70%, which is 7, 8, 9, or 10. What values could x take on, for example?
7, 8, 9, 10.
Or 0, or 1, or 2. And what do those represent? What are those why is it take on 0 to 10? Because what does x represent as an idea? So I'm taking a 10 question true false quiz. I can get 0 through 10 of them. What?
Correct.
Yes. So what does x represent? The number of
Correct.
questions I get right.
Okay.
There you go. And that's why I can take on the values 0 up to 10, because that's how many you could get right. Guys, do you see how, again, that relationship, it's so beautiful. The data is the answer to the question that the variable asks. The variable is the number of data points I can get right. So what could the answers to that be? 0, 1, 2, 3, up to 10. There's always that relationship between the variable and the data. All right, so let's do this. I'm going to do 1 and 2 because 3 is not on the quiz. We'll do 3 afterwards as a review of uniform stuff. Some of you guys have done this already. Does anybody else need this? It's on the back of that one with the histogram with the tossing a coin. It's on the back of this guy. Now, it's really easy to identify this question because it's on the sheet that says it's either binomial or uniform. Why is this binomial, though? This situation. What can you identify in that setup? 22. What about 22?
N.
N. So there's Ed. What else do I tell you? 61%. That would be the probability that they say that does prevent them from speaking freely. And how many other options are there? Just one other one. You don't say that, right? Or you don't think that. So it's an NPQ problem. Because you've got to identify N and one probability of success. There must be a probability of failure that I can figure out. So they have a certain look to them. So in a lot of math classes, the first step is categorize the problem. Because if we start trying to attack this with XP of X, it's not going to go anywhere. I don't have a bunch of probabilities. They give me one. So that is P. It's not P of X for every X. No. Okay, maybe. So what can I summarize here? I know N is 22. P is 0.61. Q is 3.9. You stop there. Is everybody cool so far? Because P and Q, of course, have to make 1. And in problem A, so this is true for A and B. This is true for this whole problem. Problem A, what else did they tell me? X. Yeah, I know that I want exactly 13. So how do I write that? Probability that X is 13. And then you just have to throw it in the formula. And by the way, I think I said this earlier. I put the formulas in the quiz. What's the formula? N choose X. That looks so weird, but we know it's not a big deal in practice. So I've got 22 people. I want to choose 13 of them to do something. So how many of these do I have? 13. So how many of these do I have? 9. Because overall I have 22 people. So sometimes people make every piece of a class they consider hard, they think every piece of it must be hard then. That's just, there's 13 people there, there's got to be the rest over there. That's all it is. Not a big deal. And then whatever that comes out to be. So what's that look like? Let's see. So 22. Where do I go to get to choose? Math. Probability number 3. 22 choose 13. Gotta hit the over arrow to get out of there. 0.61 to the 13th. I don't know what's gonna freak out. I always put a times in there just in case. 0.61 to the 13th times 0.39 to the 9. So I get that. Is that what you guys got? 1681? Okay. No? Yes. Yes, most of these? If not, it's okay to say, I didn't get that. Okay. Oh, yeah, 13. Alright. This is something you're going to have to do in a little bit on your own in the quiz. Now, I love this next one. I would. Less than 21. What does that mean directly, less than 21? From what to what?
20 to 0.
Yeah, from 20 down to 0, or 0 up to 20, right? So you'd have to do a formula. If you want to answer this directly, you'd have to do that formula for 0, 1, 2, so up to 20. The idea that we discussed about the probability of at least 1, that was a very specific application of a general idea. Anytime the opposite situation has less work, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to answer the opposite of that question, and before whoever asked that question gets all pissy, I'm going to do 1 minus that. And say, there's your answer, crazy person. So what's the opposite? What does that leave out? Is an even better way to look at it than just what's the opposite. Less than 21 leaves out 21 and 22. So all you got to do then is figure out the probability 21 add it to the probability 22, and then do what with that? Subtract it from 1. Because if you do 21 and 22, 21 or 22, that's the opposite of what they're asking for. So I'm just going to do 1 minus that. Yes?
So it will be 1 minus 1.
Yeah, so again, watch this. Let me show you this. So you guys said this situation, the only values for x, and I know I'm going to write it in this table form just so we can see it better. I'm not saying that this is going to become this kind of a problem. But this way it really makes it really clear as to why we do the 1 minus thing. So it can be 0, 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 21, 22, right? And of course, whatever these are, they have to add up to be 1. So if I do 1 minus the probability of these two things, I'm going to get the probability of all these things. If they add up to 1, if this chunk plus this chunk is 1, then 1 minus this is this. That's just physical, right? It's just a physical property. It's kind of nice. So that's why that general idea, the probability question directly, if the opposite of that situation has less work, I can always do 1 minus that opposite situation.
So it is 1 minus 21 and 22.
Yeah, you got to add those two together and then subtract it from 1. So you're answering the question. The first thing you do is you answer the question, probability at least 21. And then you do 1 minus what you found, because that's the opposite situation. That's so beautiful. I love that, to have an option.
I'm kind of confused, like, why would 22 be?
What's the most it could be?
I thought it was 21, but...
No, what's it say? If we choose 22 college students, yeah. N is 22, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay.
I like it. So the question doesn't set up anything besides what you're interested in. The beginning of it tells you how far it goes up.
Gotcha.
I
I
like
was,
it.
yeah.
Oh. So here I've got to do, if I do this problem instead first, I can do 1 minus that to get the answer. So what I normally do is I just focus on this, and then I get the answer, and then I do 1 minus that. So this would be, what would this look like? 22 people.
22.
21.
21.
Oh, sorry, 21.
So I got how many of these?
21.
21.
And I got how many of these? 1. Plus 22, choose 22. All successes, no failures, right? So let's see what that looks like. And that, of course, is not the answer. That's the opposite of the answer. And it's always fine. It's always fine to get the opposite of what they want as long as you undo that. Yeah, as long as you, in this case, do 1 minus that. Because then you end up answering the question. So see, if I do 22, choose 21. I forgot to come out of there. I'm still not used to this entirely myself. So 22, choose 21, out of that. Times 0.61 to the 1 times 0.39 to the first, plus 22, choose 22. Now do I have to, what do I really have to do with this next part? I hate them just arbitrarily deciding stuff. What do I really have to do for this next part? Oops, doing it there.
1 times...
All I need is 0.61 to the 22, right? Because all the rest of this is going to be 1, 1, so that's the only piece that's not 1. If you don't understand that, it's okay, just do the whole formula. Because the calculator's going to get those to be 1. But if we realize they're 1, I'm like, I don't have to write that shit out. So I get something really, really tiny. And why do I not really care about that yet? Because what do I still have to do? Yeah, so if I do 1 minus one of the most kick-ass buttons answer, I can just copy that. I don't have to worry about the weird ass scientific notation because that's like a middle step. Who cares? So finally I get 0.9997. Yes.
On the calculator, you know, it said the E.
Yes.
Does that mean it's like
Point.
3 zeros and then your number?
Yeah. So if you rounded this would be point. Move it back 4. 1 and then 3 zeros. 0.0003 if I round it, right? 1 minus that, that's why there's a 7. 0003. Okay. Hope you see. If you see this, if you're not done working with it, you don't have to worry about it yet. If that was the answer to the problem, then you got to worry about making it 0.0003. But I didn't even have to write this shit down because I didn't even finish what I'm doing yet, right? Hopefully you guys see that. Okay. All right. So what about this guy? So now, what situation am I in? I guess you can call that a trick question, but not really. What do you guys see? Yeah, I see n. What's n?
211.
211. Do you see a probability of something I can call a success? Yes. And again, success is not a happy thing always. So yeah, they worry they may lose their jobs to immigration, so that's what I'm looking for. So that's a success. So I see an N, I see a P, I can calculate what Q is. Because I agree with you, one of the worst things about any math course is, all right, I know how to do that shit, I just don't know when to do that shit, right? So that's why you want to train yourself as to what to look for so you know when to do what. So N is 211. P is 0.118. So what's Q? 882. I like it. And then so that's true for this whole problem. What's part A asking for?
19.
Yeah, x equals 19. So then I've got 211 total. Choose 19. Right, now I can just start setting up the formula. 211, choose 19 of them to do this. So of course 19 of them do this. And how many of them do the other thing? 92. Let me see. Can the calculator handle this? Sometimes you might get an overflow error. That's always neat.
It does.
If you try to do it in pieces, let's see if you guys get this. Does anybody remember from what we talked about? Is this piece gonna be a very big number or a very small number? This piece. Anybody remember? I got 211 things. I want to know how many ways can I choose 19 of them. Just imagine, it could be the first 19, or the last 19, or the middle 19, or the first 2 and the last 17, or the first 3, the middle 2, and the last 14, can you see that that's going to be a stupid big number? That number by itself might freak your calculator out. But what's true about the rest of this shit? This is going to be a very small number. So if you do them all at the same time, your calculator goes, oh, okay. Big ass, okay, this other stuff killed it, right? So you always want to put this in all at the same time so you don't get that kind of freakiness. So 211 choose 19 times 0.189 times 0.882 to the 192. Sweet. Now I'm curious, does this freak it out by itself?
No, it doesn't.
No? Okay. Yeah, look at that. See? Times 10 to the 26. So if I ask you to make that list, you are allowed to just kick me. No. Alright, that would take a little long time. Alright. So you get, what do you get? You get 0.0407. Roughly. And then of course, how do I do this?
Excuse me.
Sorry.
How did you get 192?
Where am I at? Sorry?
How did you get 192?
I don't have a 182.
192.
Oh, 192.
Yeah.
The 211 total.
That is it.
211 total people, right? 211 total. 19 are here. So how many are there? There's nothing special about it. If there's 211 total people and 19 of them are in this room, how many must be in the other room? 211 minus 19.
I know this is n minus 1.
No. Please let this make sense. How many groups does a binomial cut people into? 2. That sounded horrible. Chop. Right. But you guys with me? We always chop the groups into 2 groups. If one of them has this many, the other one must have the rest. Yes. Otherwise, you're going to get really funky ass answers. Right? Yeah, that would freak me out. Yeah. So what's always true about these 2 numbers, they will add to be this one. Why? Because it makes physical sense. Not everything is a math conspiracy to make your life miserable. That piece right there is just, that's the way shit works. Yeah.
My calculator freaked out, so I don't know if I had it set up differently because
Uh-oh. Oh, okay, this so sucks. This is the same mistake I made earlier. 211 choose 19, and you have to get out of that. Otherwise, the rest of it is also under there. Yeah. Yeah, the newer calculators are nice that it makes it look the same, but then you got to remember, if you're up in the exponent, you better come back down. If you're down there, you better come back up. All right, so what is the formula here for this part?
N times P.
N times P. N is 211. P is 0.118. So whatever that is.
24.
Yeah. Is everybody all right? And the standard deviation would officially be N, P, Q. The calculator, I would just do square root of what I got so far times Q. Is that what you guys got?
Yeah.
So there's the mean, there's the standard deviation, the 2 most important numbers for most distributions. How do I get these?
The mean minus 2.
Yeah, the min. Yeah, good. So the min would be the mean minus 2 steps, right? 2 standard deviations. I like it. So that would be 24.898 minus 2 of these. Right, and the max would be, do that in a minute, mean plus 2 standard deviations. So it'll be 24.898 plus 2 of these. Here's what I do in the calculator. You can just put all this shit in the calculator to get the answers, but let me show you this tiny shortcut. What is that on the calculator again? That's the standard deviation. If I multiply by 2, that's 2 standard deviations. And again, everything I'm about to do, you never have to do. You can just put all this shit in there, no worries, right? If I store that in X, I've done this before. If I store it in X, so just hit store, and then pick X. That's the most accessible variable, is this button right there. That's your all-purpose variable button. Now I can just do 24.898 minus X. There's the min. 24.898 plus X. There's the max. Right? If you don't like that, never do it. It's okay. I'll show you what this thing can do. Costs enough money, right? Let's see. So this is anywhere from 15.53 looks like up to 34.27. So would it be unusual to find 14?
Yeah.
That would be unusually
Low.
low. I didn't really ask that, but yes, it would be. Yes, why? Yeah, it's outside of 2 standard deviations from the mean. It's more than 2 standard deviations away from the mean. So it would be officially unusual. So it's evidence that something's out of the norm. and then we don't know why. Is it by random chance? Is it because the people I talked to had different opinions than most or something? All right, cool. And number 3 we'll do after the quiz. Now, don't forget now, I mean, that's this kind of problem. What else is on this quiz, of course? The XP of X stuff. And I've got all those formulas on there too. Yes?
If let's say if it was the probability more than 21 of the thing, so I forgot how do you set
Oh,
that up again.
I mean, so on that one problem up there at the top, if it would have been, here's what's funny. I don't know what you see. If it would have said the probability that more than 21,
oh, if there's only one left.
yeah.
Okay.
So then I wouldn't have to do any 1 minus at all, would I? What does more than 21 mean in this problem? 22. So if I find that probability, I'm done. I don't have to, the opposite of more than 21 would suck. That would mean 21, so I'm not going to do that shit. I'm just going to answer the question directly then. I don't have to do 1 minus something. Because the question is quick. It's just got one situation. I like it. And you notice how it's the same thing when we do z-scores. We got to do 1 minus to get the other side. It's the same thing. I love you guys. All right. So put everything away except calculator. I don't think you'll need scrap paper, but you can have it if you want, I guess.